We envy birds, their mastery of the air, watching them enjoy the freedom of a three-dimensional space. Flight allows them to get to hard-to-reach places and perform aerial acrobatics in protecting home ranges and searching for food. But it's not always easy. It takes a lot of effort to graduate air school, and there is a new bunch of cadets arriving, all hoping to get their wings. Some birds seem to come out of the egg ready to take to the wing. In the meadows of Europe, common quails scrape out their living, gathering seeds, leaves and bugs. Their chicks grow at a rate of knots, learning from their mother what to eat and not to eat. And though they are best suited to a life on the ground, running and hiding from danger, it will be just 11 days before they are ready to take flight. It's good for emergencies. When a predator is on the prowl, they can make a speedy escape. The buzzard will have to make do with worms. They're easier to catch. While the quails are flying from the word go, there are other families that engage in a more long-term commitment. The white stork is a famous flyer, long embroiled in mythology. It was said to deliver newborn babies. Of course it doesn't, not human ones anyway, but was a convenient way for parents to explain to children where babies come from. Because they have long been considered a symbol of good luck, storks are welcomed into communities and often nest on buildings or even purpose-built nesting platforms. The male chooses the nest site, and he'll need to make a good decision. The platform will need to support his family for more than 2 months. The female seems to like his handiwork. They begin a ritual to cement their relationship. The head bobbing and bill clapping are dance moves and chat-up lines. The female can't resist joining in. They'll mate and lay eggs. It will be another month until the little ones hatch. He plans to do some home renovation. The nests are added to every year and can reach 3 meters in height. His craft is hampered when the materials fight back. The timber arrives courtesy of 2-meter wings. Nesting is a demanding business, and the ability to fly makes a huge difference in the delivery of materials. But all over the world, wings are at work creating platforms for parenthood. Other birds, like bee-eaters, use their wings to nest high, flying to cliff faces, where they can excavate chambers that are out of reach of predators. They have some noisy neighbours, rollers. In the early days of the breeding season, there is much competition for the best spots. Pairs stake out their favourite perches and try to keep trespassers at bay. It doesn't always work, and a featherweight fight ensues. This colourful community is made entirely from insect catchers. As their names suggest, bee-eaters specialise in bees and bash the insects to get rid of their painful stings. Once disarmed, the bugs make for a romantic meal. Though there is a bit of a queue for the best table in the house. Once again, the male uses food to butter up his mate. Less romantic is the way they discard the hard beetle shells. Once they get their perch back, the bee-eaters can seal the deal. Then it's time to start preparing the nursery. Both male and female birds will do the hard graft, though sometimes they also bring in contractors, perhaps last year's chicks who hang around and help out. They break up the ground with their sharp beaks, then kick away the rubble. Flight enables birds to live wherever they want. In the case of woodpeckers, it means they can enjoy tree trunks and use their wood-bashing fame to carve out a fortress of a nest. Other birds prefer to be out on a limb. The golden orioles can't afford to rest when they have such a hungry brood to feed. For most bird species, a close bond forms between the parents. They need to work together in their child rearing. The female woodchat shrike is on babysitting duty and must rely on her mate to keep the food coming. One of the challenges for nesting birds is that for the most part, chicks take a long time to go from pink and useless to capable flyers. And for the weeks or months of growth, it means the parents are constantly on the go. Nesting in trees or tucked away in the undergrowth is one way of avoiding predators, but another is to nest on an island. Hundreds of thousands of seabirds may share the least inviting, most windswept of rocks. With their mastery of the air, gannets are perfectly at home on the sea-battered cliffs. Guillemots, too, crowd the ledges. Ferrying in fish for their young. Being surrounded by sea keeps the chicks safe from land predators. But attacks can still come from the skies from predatory birds. A skua, the pirate of the sea, looks for an unguarded baby. But there are some places that are out of reach to any would-be threat. Thanks to some of the longest wings on Earth, over 3 meters tip to tip, the Andean condor can live on top of the world. Condors have mastered low-cost flights. Living over mountains, they can find rising thermals and air currents and use their broad wings to catch a ride. Throughout South American mountain ranges, they seek ledges thousands of meters above sea level, their preferred nesting ground. They pair for life and will both help raise their young. As long as the weather's reasonable, they can glide for hours without expending any energy flapping their wings. They are so fuel efficient that they can afford to live by scavenging, soaring effortlessly over their 200-kilometer territories until they spot a carcass. On the ground, they are nervous and eat quickly. They'll cram in as much as they can, sometimes to the point where they can barely take off. The mated pair watch from the wings. Once the carcass is stripped bare, they climb the thermals back to their nest. The condor's flap-free gliding couldn't contrast more with the high-powered flight of the hummingbird. The smallest birds on Earth, the hummers, are also the most maneuverable. Their wings beat in a figure of 8, flapping 90 times a second. Like mini helicopters, they can go in any direction. This type of flight requires a huge amount of fuel, and so the hummingbirds must eat twice their body weight every day in energy-rich nectar. There is even more pressure for the single mums when they have to provide for their bee-sized baby as well as themselves. Peregrine falcons are often considered the fastest birds, but that's only when diving, where their performance is enhanced by the forces of gravity. Nonetheless, they are fast and skillful flyers, but it takes a lot of practice to master their art. These downy chicks still have a long way to go. Birds of prey are some of the most spectacular flyers, using their skills to hunt. With less speed, but lots of power and agility, a long-legged buzzard has its eye on a pheasant pair. Owls have a unique flying adaptation. Their feathers are covered with tiny, hair-like down that reduce turbulence. It means they are silent in flight and can take their prey by surprise. Birds of prey can even move between mediums. From high above, the osprey can look down into the water. Rough pads on his feet grip the slippery prey. This fish is a gift for his mate. Being a smooth mover is very attractive to other birds of prey, so they often show off their skills. When courting or training their young, harriers perform aerial acrobatics. These chicks are totally dependent on their parents for food. And when the male arrives with a food package, rather than dropping it off at the nest, it's passed in mid-air. Dinner is served. It was a generous meal, but not enough to stop the chicks from fighting. Survival of the fittest is played out in nests. Usually the oldest and therefore biggest chick has the greatest chance of growing up. Luckily for this family, both parents seem especially good at keeping up with the food demands. Fishermen are among the most agile of flyers, and few more so than the terns. Despite their delicate appearance, Arctic terns migrate from pole to pole. All of their kind are among the most acrobatic of birds. They dip and dive for fish to feed their rapidly growing young. They also put their aerial skills to the test in defending their nests from any intruder, no matter how big. Wings are the tools of flight, but they probably didn't evolve for that purpose. Fossil evidence suggests feathered wings were first used for display to attract mates or intimidate rivals, and they still serve that role. Cranes display with their spectacular wings. However, feathers need a great deal of upkeep. All birds groom, keeping their plumage in good shape. Because a bird in bad shape is not going to last long. Grounded, the young kittiwake's fate is sealed. To make sure they don't get caught out, birds take every opportunity to bathe. And if they can't get to water, they improvise. Dust bathing can rid the bird of parasites and dead skin, keeping the sparrows in top health. Or in the frozen north, even a snow bath can help. And for ravens, it seems to be fun too. The jay takes a different approach, a chemical bath. It solicits an ant army. The angry insects don't like intruders on their mound. They swarm the jay. But as they clamber through its feathers, they remove parasites and squirt a toxic pesticide. Once the treatment gets a bit rough, the jay moves on. Perhaps the most impressive feat of cleaning is the extreme showering of swifts. Clinging on with tiny feet, they let water run over their bodies. Waters of the enormous Iguazu Falls. These aerial acrobats spend most of their lives on the wing. Some kinds of swifts even travel the globe and only land when it's time to have their young. These swifts use the waterfall as a screen behind which they can conceal their nests. Wings give birds their incredible gift of flight, but they have other functions as well. When the desert mountains get too hot, a mother vulture can use her wings to shield her vulnerable chick. They can also shield a meal from any potential thief. A fisherman's friend, wings can cast shadows to lure fish or remove reflections, making it easier to spot prey. And for marine hunters, wings turn flippers for submarine flight. Despite their buoyant bodies, the powerful wings of harlequin ducks can propel them down several meters to feed on shellfish on the sea floor. And for a booming bustard, the wings have decorative value. They almost seem to turn themselves inside out to impress a mate. The wings are almost 3 meters across, and although a male bustard may weigh 18 kilos, it can still get airborne, making it possibly the heaviest flyer on the planet. These innocuous birds have yet another use for their wings. The African thick-knees, or takeoffs, nest on a riverbank close to crocodiles, hoping that the massive monsters will keep other predators at bay. But it doesn't always work, and when a monitor lizard comes marauding, the birds are ready to take it on. The bold markings on the wings are like false eyes, creating a dramatic appearance. The birds look bigger and scarier than they really are. and it's usually enough to dissuade an attacker. Wings can also be used more directly in warfare. It's a bit of urban myth that a swan's wing can break your arm, but they are certainly effective when trying to keep a whooping swan Casanova from your missus. The intruder swaggers, virtually standing on its own beak to show off its coordination. The couple try to make it clear that they are an item. But the stalker won't go away. Beaten and bitten, he's finally got the message. White storks are busily gathering frogs, mice, insects, whatever they can catch, to take back to their nests. They have chicks to get airborne. Already the youngsters have grown. Mother drops off some extra bedding and then unloads the dish of the day. Already the chicks are nearly as big as she is and stretch their huge wings. For these young birds, the wings have a vital function. They have been born to become long-distance travelers. As soon as they have the strength, they will need to fly from Europe to Africa. Other birds put their flying skills to less honorable uses. During the cold Japanese winter, kind fishermen throw leftovers from their catch to help cranes through the tough months. But aerial acrobats keep an eye on the goings-on. White-tailed sea eagles. These huge birds are good at catching fish for themselves, but when it's being handed out for free, they don't want to miss out and are not afraid to fight for it. The cranes do their best to defend their prize. But against these accomplished thieves, it's futile. Birds have a number of ways of exploiting other animals. On the pampas of South America, a capybara finds itself with baggage. The Klingon is a Chimango caracara, a small hawk. It's posing as pest control, helping to remove ticks and other insects from the rodent's fur. But it has an inner vampire, and when it cleans the capybara's wounds, it nibbles just a little bit deeper than it should. Here's another marauding mob. But the jays have purpose. Songbirds, and especially members of the crow family, seem to delight in harassing birds of prey. But in truth, it's a safety mechanism. By calling the birds bluff, they are making sure they are not going to be taken by surprise, ending up on the menu themselves. Even when the bigger female osprey returns, the jays don't give in. Attracted by the creatures of the forest, this young fishing owl is keen to make his debut. But unfortunately, success on his first flight will largely be a matter of timing. Soaked through, his wings have no resistance to the air. He's going to have to wait and dry off a bit first. Timing is critical to the success of all baby birds, especially ones with a long way to fall. Arctic seabirds cram the ledges. The guillemot chicks are growing fast and running out of space. But unlike other birds, guillemots don't fly from the nests, they jump. On a good day, the flightless youngster will leap to the sea, where it will be accompanied by its father, until it's developed enough to fly and take care of itself. But bad weather has pushed sheets of ice up against the cliffs. One father and son find themselves on thin ice. And an Arctic fox has spotted their misfortune. It's a floating maze of moving icebergs that are treacherous to both predator and prey. But eventually the ice gets too thin. The fox doesn't want to risk a dunking in freezing seawater, so he makes his way back to shore, getting a little wetter en route than he'd hoped. It's also time for the bee-eaters to fly the nest. Mother's brought a juicy butterfly to try and lure the little ones out. They don't seem keen to obey. She gives in and feeds them. But if they want any more, they are going to have to come out and get it. Their mother demonstrates the principle, and Dad makes encouraging sounds. Another lure. The prospect is getting more tempting. Gradually, the young birds assemble and become more used to the subtleties of their wings. Soon they will join their parents as masters of the skies. There is no doubt that mastery of the skies is a useful skill, and the cranes start coaxing their family to conquer the air at a young age. The parents lead by example. In just a few short months, the lessons pay off. There is still time for games. But when the flock takes off to begin their migration, the youngsters fall in behind their parents, ready to learn the route that will bring them back next year to the place of their birth. Birds are incredible, a marvelous balance of power and grace. They can go where they want and look down on the world. Is it any surprise we dream of joining them as masters of the skies?